Unless you've been living under a rock, you are aware that there is a gas crunch in the southeastern U.S. following a ransomware attack on a major pipeline. This has hit cities like Raleigh particularly hard as people have been buying up gas faster than tankers can resupply stations. Though we're lucky enough to have one electric vehicle, our other vehicle is a gas-guzzling 2005 Lexus LX 470 with less than a quarter tank. Driving it around looking for gas would burn what precious gas I have left, but luckily I have a solution. Yes, my plan is to drive my Tesla to find gas, then pump gas into these cans to bring back to our LX 470. I've got over 240 miles of range in my Model 3, way more than I'll need to either find gas or find out that we're going to be a one-car family for another day longer.
It is a nasty day to be driving around looking for gas, which a lot of people are doing. I want to start out by saying a few things. First of all, I really think this is a short-term problem. People will fill up their tanks, fill up their extra gas cans, and then there's not going to be any place for that gas to go because most people have actually cut back on the driving they're doing out of how difficult it is to get even more gas. Tesla wave, and they didn't wave back. But once all the tanks are full, once all the extra gas cans are full, there's not going to be anywhere for gas to go. People aren't going to be able to buy more gas. And the actual supply of refined gasoline hasn't dropped. This is just a spike in demand, which, has the same crunching effect on people who need gas now who don't have it. But the irony is, I can drive around looking for gas for my LX 470 without burning gas while doing it. And that's a very good thing because I have nearly an empty tank and it only gets 12 miles to the gallon. So this is actually a pretty funny thing, but a pretty awesome thing at the same time, that I could drive my electric vehicle with as much range, up to 290 miles, I think is my maximum range I can still get out of this battery, charged from my home, and not have to worry about burning gas. So why am I getting gas if I think this is going to be done in a couple days? Well, we have a few things in our schedule where we'd like to be using both of our cars. Nothing is an emergency. But if it's convenient enough for me to grab 10 gallons of gas, then I'm going to do that. Most of these gas stations you can drive by and you'll know that they have no gas because there's no line. I'm going to turn in here anyway. Oh, they have gas. They just don't have diesel. What do you know? First try. This is actually really, really funny. All pumps have been stopped. Oh, they don't have bags on them. Yeah, that's not really helpful. It says all pumps have been stopped, but the bags on the pump handles is way more valuable information for people because you could see that without pulling up. But that's why people are just sitting here without getting any gas. But a lot of people are driving away like I'm about to do. Okay, strike one. I had a quick conversation with somebody. And what some of the people are doing is there's a diner here. So they've parked at the pump and they're eating at the diner, waiting for a fuel supply truck to show up. And I guess they're just going to work from the diner until they get gas. I mean, if you're going to just be sitting there anyway and you're afraid to drive your vehicle, what better place to park than actually right next to a pump? Oh, look. They've got gas. This is my second try. And they don't have gas. These are people, once again, they're waiting in line for the gas truck to show up. My gosh, that's desperation. I want to point out that I don't think EV owners have any reason to be glib looking at something like that. I get it. We get kidded, prodded all the time. Anytime that there's a blackout, I get people texting me, haha, where are you going to drive now? When I probably have 260 miles of range in my Model 3 before the power went out, and it's not really an issue. But first of all, when you think about terrorist attacks, the electric grid is just as susceptible, if not more so, to various kinds of terrorist attacks. This is a pretty new thing for a cyber terrorist attack to be successful in shutting down a pipeline. I think we're just looking at the start of something that might be happening more frequently, not just to gasoline. But the second thing is, even when there isn't a cyber attack, the grid can be unreliable for other reasons. Look at what happened recently in Texas where they had to go to rolling blackouts. Look at what happens now with more regularity during fire season in parts of California, where again, they go to shutting off the power grid in areas where there's a high risk of wildfire. EV owners in those areas have a hard time. If you don't have access to solar plus sun, then you have a really hard time powering something like this. It's totally true though that when there actually is a widespread power outage in Raleigh, the pumps don't have power either. So you can't get gas at the same time you can't get electricity. So it's not really a big difference. You just have the range you have in your vehicle sitting in the garage. But again, the practical difference for me is anytime there's any kind of weather that could result in a widespread power outage, I make sure I'm fully charged. Just as I make sure that my tank is topped off. This thing caught all of us by surprise because there actually wasn't a shortage. There was no shortage in supply, at least not yet. This is everybody worried about a shortage in supply. Okay, here's another line. Is it an actual line? Yeah, so this is for Costco. I can't even buy gas here, but I just wanted to see, is this the same craziness here? No, they don't have gas. These are people lining up, just waiting for a supply tanker to show up. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't think that I'm gonna be able to buy gas. I gotta call my wife about this. Yeah, 000. See, these guys, that's helpful. There's no line because they have 0000. That's, you don't even need to stop there. You already know. No gas there. Boy, I would be panicking right now if I only had my LX 470 and I had to drive it around looking for gas because the whole time I'd be burning gas. Oh, that would be horrible. Yeah, there's no traffic, no line. So I'm guessing they at least make it easy for people. Well, they've got the bags on the handles. But once again, I see people fully parked at these pumps. And there are restaurants around here and coffee shops. I guarantee you that's what's happening, is people have parked at the pump to kind of claim their first place in line, and then they're just going to be checking to see if the tanker comes. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I don't have to do that. Up here is a Sheetz. Again, if Sheetz doesn't have gas, that's a really bad sign for the area. And of course they're not going to. What's the situation? The situation is, once again, there is a line and nobody is pumping gas into their cars. People are just sitting there waiting for the Sheetz truck to come and fill those up. One of the things I do tell people who talk about power issues, like what do you do to plan for them and everything, in addition to just making sure that my Tesla is charged up before we get weather or anything, you just need to keep in mind that any outlet that you can reach is a source of charging. It might not be more than 4 or 5 miles of range per hour of charging. But the fact is, if power is out everywhere, there's no place to go. That's different than now. There's no gas, but every place is open and people still have places to go, places they want to go, places they need to go. But if there's widespread power loss where I cannot add range to this vehicle in any way whatsoever, there really isn't any place for me to go except for something like emergency services. And at that point, either just drive there and what you got and not worry about how you're going to get home, or you call 911. And then if you can't get help from 911, it's a way bigger deal than, oh my gosh, we have no electricity. All right. Yeah, so they have their sign off. Good for you guys. So it's super obvious. There isn't really a convenient place to wait. And so I don't see, there aren't even people parked at the pumps. No line here. That's very helpful. That's the way you do it. 2 more places to drive by, but I know what the story is going to be. Right here is the Tesla Sales and Service Center. Actually, that's as empty a lot as I've seen. They're selling through all of their Model S and X inventory, of course. But who knows? Maybe in the past couple days, they had a lot of people come by and say, well, it's time for me to get an electric. Wouldn't that be something? Last 2 gas stations, these are also kind of hidden out of the way, and in previous runs on gas, I was able to find gas at one or the other of these. So they're being kind of jerks. They have the price up there and there, but of course, at least they have the big yellow bags on the handles. Now, look at the difference here. Nobody's actually waiting in line or anything like that, like at other places. But these are brand name gas stations, and just shows you how people don't think about these 2 places when there is a rush on gas. It's places like this that are good to have in your memory and your little bag of tricks, because it will eventually be easier to get gas probably at one of those 2 gas stations than any of the others that I've driven by. I didn't drive in that big of a radius from where I live, but you know, I put some miles on driving around spokes in the wheel around where I live, going past various gas stations. There are so many more that I could drive by, but I know the story is going to be the same absolutely everywhere in Raleigh. And I know I've said this a couple times before. I am not gloating about this, but it does demonstrate that EVs absolutely have their advantage, being able to charge at home and having a full gas tank every morning when you wake up. Usually I talk about it in terms of just not having to interrupt my day to stop for gas, or thinking how, wow, I've got to swing by a gas station or I'm not going to make it to my next appointment. The reason our LX doesn't have a full tank right now is because I was on my way home from someplace when I realized I was going to be low on gas when I got home, but I wanted to get home and see my family, so I didn't stop to get gas. This whole idea where, oh yeah, it only takes me 3 minutes to fill a tank. It's not 3 minutes of total effort. It can be a lot more than that, even if you're just driving by a gas station. And lots of times you're just like, you know what? I just don't want to deal with gas right now. I just want to get home. And that's what put us in that situation. And I'm sure a lot of the people that are sitting in line right now. But I never have to worry about that with my Model 3. Because my gas station is in my garage. I never worry about charging during my daily driving, ever. There are times where I do it because the charging is free. They call it convenience charging. But I'm never charging during my day around town because I'm worried that I'm not going to have enough range to do the driving I need to do for a day. And my kid, some days she's so active in the summer and she goes all over creation and places where I don't want to sit there for 4 hours. So I'll do a half-hour drive to drop her off, a half-hour drive to come home, and a half-hour drive to pick her up, and a half-hour drive to come home. We've done 160 miles in a day just driving around locally. I think that was my max that I ever saw. But again, I never came close to the range that I start with in the morning. It is nerve-wracking during times like these to have a gas-powered car, not an electric vehicle. If you're interested in getting a Tesla for yourself, be sure to use my Tesla owner's referral link when you place your order. You'll get free supercharging if you do. Full details on a Tesla owner's referral program can be found at the link itself. Be sure to subscribe for more videos on EVs and how extra convenient they are over gas vehicles. I really appreciate you watching The Tech of Tech, and I hope to see you next time.